Bom dia, Portugal!
In Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP.
Good morning, Portugal, and I'd like to welcome you to another fantastic day.
Hey, Gumpers.
Hola, bon dia, alegria. Munson here with the Good Morning Portugal show, a live stream and podcast. Tudo bem? Como estás? How are you? How was your weekend? This morning, of course, we'll talk to that mindful migration man, James the Banana Slug. He'll be with us from around 9. And Bob and Viv return at around 9:30. The Portugal Pathfinders. So always great fun talking to them and having that combination all on one smorgasbord platter. James, Bob, Viv, and myself talking about moving to Portugal. The big question, a bit clickbaity this morning. I do apologize for that. I felt especially bad when I saw Dave in Portugal doing one of his latest videos. Do I stay in Portugal? Am I going to sell my dream home? And I thought to myself, oh, Dave, not in Portugal. There's a new YouTube channel. But I think he's staying. And I think it was just a way of him being able to sell his house soon. Smart guy. Who's your favorite present company accepted? I don't want to put you on a spot or embarrass you, but who are some of your favorite Portugal YouTubers? I've spoken to Josh and Kaylee for a little while. I've got our dear friend in the Algarve, Veronica, of course. Dave in Portugal, prolific. That guy who used to moan about Portugal a lot, who's gone to moan about France now. We don't see. So what's he called? Under Your Skin, Beneath the Sheets, something like that. Who are your favorite Portugal YouTubers? Do let us know and let us know how you're doing, how your weekend has been. Let's see who's in the chat. I see the welcome return of a GMP legend. Great to have you back, T-Duck. Oh, yes. Good to see you here, my friend, and thank you very much for your dad jokes and deep thought this morning. I'll come back to that in just a moment. Coach Turner's in as well. It's the three wise men of the Gumpocalypse, isn't it? Re-established. There was just something a bit odd and awkward about the last few weeks without T-Duck in the frame, in the mix there. So great to have you back. And Deagle as well. Look at that. Heralding a new week, the elders. I hope you don't mind me describing you as that. But the Gumper elders are here in council, wise council, Sue's included, who is back. Bon dia, I am back. Taxi, plane, taxi, train, taxi. It was a long day. So happy to be back in Central. Isn't that lovely? Very good. I get a sense of for you and T-Duck. It's great to be back. Owen's here as well this morning. Bon dia, folks. Owen, see you tomorrow. Owen will be joining us on the show tomorrow with a bit of food alchemy. Another welcome return to the screen here. The image that you saw, if you were tuned in right from the get-go, was something I had been working on over the weekend with a quote from Portugal's busiest man. You have to be patient. That's the first thing. Patience is going to be required here. You may get annoyed and you'll get upset about things, but that's how it is here. Bobby O'Reilly, Portugal's busiest man. From the cover of a new to-be classic book about moving to Portugal, The Power of Now. Unleashing the power of patience in Portugal. Now, I think I might be in trouble already with this because I sent it inadvertently. I was trying to send the details of my mechanic, Joao, to friend Mike. And I sent that cover to thinking I was sending it to Mike as well, while sending him the details of Joao the mechanic in Campo, just Caldas Terrenia. And I sent the book cover to the mechanic. Now, the mechanic, at the very least, is going to think, what on earth is he? Why is he sending me book covers of books he's written with silly wordplay? I mean, I don't know what he'll make of that. But a worst case scenario, he'll think, the power of patience. Is he having a little dig at me that it's taken so long to get his car in to be looked at this week? So we'll see about that later on today. We'll see what happens with that. And Joao, the mechanic. He's very good, and that's why he's so busy. Pam Smith also in, and Camilla will come back and say hello to you in just a moment and put your comments on the screen. It's easy. Just stick your comments up on the screen, or if you want, I don't know, I was going to call it deeper attention. Your call and comments are important to us. And may be recorded on WhatsApp for security purposes. But 913-590-303 is the number to send messages to. A busy week ahead this week, actually. It's looking good. The first of our special Storyteller Palace meetups happening this Wednesday. So not the usual meetup at Nelson's. Nelson's, I don't think we'll be going to a Palmera Cafe. We won't be going there for about a month now because they're having a well-earned rest. They'll be reopening later in the month, about 5 weeks' time, I think. A well-deserved break for Nelson and Margarita there at Palmera. This Wednesday, we'll be here at the Storytellers Palace. We're 20 plus people already. It's been very popular. I really wasn't sure how it was going to go. To come along, you need to buy lunch there at the Storytellers Palace. Marco, I'm giving him the final numbers today, so I really need to close the event in terms of invitations today. 25 euros, including soft drinks, and there'll be some good networking and mingling, some fine people coming to join us on Wednesday. But it might be best not to go to, well, you can still go to Nelson's this week, I think, but in the coming weeks, we'll organise some other things to do in the Bay after this first event on the 25th. And then that's likely to be, what is it? Which Wednesday will that be? Yeah, last Wednesday of the month. We might, if that works well on Wednesday, we'll probably stick to that routine, and then all the others will go to Nelson, apart from this rest of this month when he'll be shut and having a rest. So look forward to having your company and seeing you there. A slightly serious note: funeral planning and international wills in Portugal. It's not, I mean, it's Monday morning, isn't it? And here I am further adding to the Monday mood with the upcoming webinar on Thursday night. But if you haven't got your will figured out in Portugal, some good information from Daniel Reis and also from Nuno, who's got some good insurance products in that department. I won't dwell on that too much, but just a quick heads up for you as we approach another week here in Portugal. And yes, I started talking about clickbait, didn't I? Today's program title: Portugal's biggest problem. What do you see as your biggest challenge? I'm thinking to myself, how do I help people move to Portugal? And I'm keen to know, tied in with the power of now, that came to me as I think that's probably one of the biggest challenges, is learning to adopt a different pace of life. And it's bittersweet. I mean, it's really sweet because you end up, and I think James will say more about this, you end up living the sort of life you really want to live at, the sort of pace you want to live it at. So learning the lessons of patience and the great virtue of patience is not a bad thing. But that said, it can be difficult along the way as things are actually happening to you that are testing your patience. And that was something I was picking up on that Bobby said on Friday as well when I was talking to him about his unique approach in helping people move to Portugal. How do we help you? What's your biggest challenge? How can we help with that? What has been, what remains your biggest challenge in moving to Portugal? Let's start, as the great Donald Byrd once said, let's stand our problems all in a row and then watch them fall like a dominoes. Nice rhyme on that. I think you'll agree. From the track, Dominoes. Oh, talking of tracks as well. I was talking to an old mate who I haven't spoken to for years. I haven't seen him in decades. But he's in Sheffield in the UK. He is a producer of disco music, of club music, house music, from which, of course, Sheffield is something of a mecca for great industrial dance tunes. Everything from the Human League and ABC, those sorts of giants, through to the more recent successes of the Arctic Monkeys. Heaven 17, not Heaven 17 are oldies, aren't they, from the 80s? Arctic Monkeys more recently. Always a great city for music. I was part of the music scene in Sheffield for a little while. Still got a few pals in the music business there. And we have an export from Sheffield, an import to us, of course, a great disco tune, which is our tune of the week, thanks to Kenrick Clark, who in this instance is not called Kenrick Clark in Sheffield. He is known as, if I can find it, again, the track is called, the band are called House Atonic, and the track is called Silly. which is what they would say in Sheffield. Oh, you're being proper silly, you are. Silly by House of Tonic. And I think there'll be some nice disco vibes to end the show with this morning. So let's see how everyone's doing. Let's go to those comments in the chat. T-Duck was here. Bondi Alegria, the return of the great T-Duck at 7:58, just before 8, with a deep thought of the day. Straight in with a deep thought from Kurt Vonnegut. Kurt Vonnegut Jr., no less, was an American writer and humorist known for his satirical and darkly humorous novels. His deep thought for today for us then: the world is full of people who are very clever at seeming much smarter than they really are. Yeah, it's true, isn't it? Starring up the dad jokes for later. And I might need a reminder, because it's been a while, hasn't it, since we've treated our guests to dad jokes at the end of the show. I want to see the look on James's face and on Bob and Viv, Vob and Biv later on today, later on in the show when we share those dad jokes with them. Don't look. Good to see you back, TD, from Coach Turner. Thanks, Coach. And it is nice to be back. I'm glad to hear that, T-Duck. Bon dia, Gumpers. I was thinking how close bon dia is to the Welsh Borada. True, isn't it? Borada Cariad. There were always close links between the Celtic nations by sea. And close links between Celts and Lusitania. And I think more Portuguese history, cultural facts coming up from T-Duck, with the Cane Sabias, the return of those soon as well. James was in at 4 minutes past 8. Bom dia a todos, feliz segunda. Como foi o vosso fim de semana? How was your weekend? He's asking you then. A quick dad joke from him. I wanted to marry a carbon 14 expert, but all she wanted to do was date. Well, carbon 14 must be the carbon dating process. You learn something new every day. You see, access to science via humor. Something to think about from James this morning. Fruit farmers eat what they can and can what they can't. Yes, very good. I like that. And the God Score tip of the day today then. God Score tip of the day: back pain can be seriously debilitating, so it makes sense to try to avoid it. The key is to have a strong core. Pilates is a great form of exercise for developing that. There are plenty of videos available on Pilates. However, what is a pirate's favorite exercise? However, if you don't fancy that, I'll be giving you 3 basic exercises over the next 3 days that have been proven to work all the right muscles. Excellent. Thank you very much, Coach T, for that. Carrying on with this Celtic Lusitanian connection, the trade links between Western Iberia, Western France, and Western Britain and Ireland were always strong. It makes sense, doesn't it, that that Atlantic coast would have connected people? And what a life that would have been if you're a sailor, just going up and down that coast, living life, trading, meeting people, fighting pirates at sea. It wouldn't have been an easy life, but it's certainly been an interesting one, wouldn't it? Bon dia, Carl and Gumpers, from a decent 9 degrees Belfast, dropped to 2 degrees overnight, but it's dry. And I see lots of, can I see my probe? Yes, I can. Fifth down to a chilly 16 degrees and less, 15.6 outside the studio at the moment, 20 degrees indoors. And when I took Jimmy Chew out for a walk this morning, we turned back. It started raining, and I could feel the rain coming in through the seams of my coat. So I turned around and came back. I see lots of rain across Portugal. Second name stormed in 1 week. Sounds more like Belfast. The clocks change, of course, as well. Is that this weekend for us too? I think it is, isn't it? Clocks change Saturday night, back from 2 in the morning to 1 in the morning in Belfast. Extra hour on night shifts. It's officially the worst night of the year to work. Beats Christmas, New Year's Eve, and even birthday. What for the worst night of the year to work? Yeah, I guess when it's festive in some way, you've at least got that. Otherwise, all you have is an extra hour to work. Couldn't they make the other people come in an hour earlier, and so you can go home at, with your allotted number of hours in your shift, Eagle? Good to see you back, Suze, and bem-vinda de volta, Suze. Did you do all of that with taxi in the taxi? I guess you would have done, wouldn't you? Couple of ducks from T-Duck there. And there is a Pato reference in our Portugal quiz question today, which I think I'll do with Bob, Viv, and James a little bit later on. But if you want access to that sooner, I shall put that into the chat right away. For those of you who like a bit of a Portuguese quiz, that's going into the chat now. And I know a number of you are subscribers to GMP VIP. So if you click that link, you'll go straight through to that. And Bob, who will be joining us at 9:30, already in. Bon dia todos. We're looking forward to talking later this morning. Welcome back, T-Duck. And Pam. Didn't get a chance to listen in much last week. You were missed. You were crazy busy too, says Pam. And please remain on the line. Your call is very important to us. Camilla, bon dia to you. Camilla Bonfant, how are you this morning? Good to see you here. And Suze, yes, Slug, lugged a taxi, his kennel. Wow, 2 suitcases, a wrapped folding chair. Is that so that you could sit at the airport? And my handbag. Orient Station was especially challenging with all of that. Whatever happened to carts and helpful staff? I thought they had carts. Maybe they were all being used. Or the people who live in the station of using them as their transport at the moment. Pam, had my first experience with a virtual reality headset this weekend as part of the Books and Movies Festival in Alcobaza. It was fantastic. Those things frighten me, and I feel a little vertiginous. It sounds like Pam was a duck to water with her first augmented virtual reality experience. So tell us more, Pam, if you will. Many lovely Portuguese people stepped in to help with the stairs and the escalators. I'm glad to hear that, Suze. So not too bad, but a little bit challenging, your journey back by the sound of it. But welcome back to Portugal, of course. We have found getting around Lisbon with luggage to be challenging. So many metro stations don't have working lifts. They do have lifts, but not all of them work, it would seem. And biggest problem is overindulgence in food, eating out. Well, if that's the worst of your problems, that's a big tick for Portugal, isn't it? And I mean tick in a good way, not the parasitic beast. Trying to eat at a Portuguese pace instead of a visitor. Big lunch and then big dinner. Need bigger clothes. Okay, well, that's good. If that's the worst thing we're speaking of when it comes to the biggest problems in Portugal. Thanks for that, Deagle. The Lead Mill nightclub. Yep, one of the first places I went to when I went to Sheffield back in 1987, I think was the first time I went to Sheffield. Had great nights there. I've DJ'd there, actually. I DJ'd alongside in support of the B-52s at the Lead Mill nightclub. Yes, great times. I think I saw the Lighthouse family there. Saw David Icke speak at the Lead Mill as well, funnily enough. It's all flooding back to me. Can't remember who else I saw there. But yeah, what a great place. The Limit as well. Some people remember the Limit. And of course, the City Hall Ballroom and the City Hall venue where I saw Maze and Soul to Soul in there as well. Great. Thank you for the memories there, Owen. And I think you'll like the disco tune from my mate Kenrick. Not isotonic. What are they called? Forgotten already. Musatonic. No, Houseatonic, of course. House music from Sheffield with a disco vibe to finish the show today. Yes, Suze, when I was at Orient last week, not one of the escalators was working. Got a good workout. I needed to rest the knees after I got home. Rest the knees. Thank you for that. Doug's in as well. I've got 2-minute tasters coming from Douglas. I think I might squeeze that in this morning. Where's it gone? Let's see if we can find that this morning and play that for you. Doug will be back in the country soon, and we've got a little bit of foreplay from Doug when it comes to the tasters. So we'll play that in a minute. Fell up an escalator. Did a Joe Biden? Did you? I fell up what's with his chin? I fell up an escalator, scraped my knee. I just want to stay put. Yeah, well-earned rest after all that traveling. Jean, bon dia todos, no school for 2 weeks, professor on medical leave. Oh, I hope that doesn't affect, as melhoras and all the best to your professor. But does that affect your chance of you getting your A2? How does that work? Do you have to do an extra 2 weeks later, Jean, I wonder? And look at this, Carl. I brought you, have you brought me some Finnish cranberry jam? How lovely. Fantastic. And the time zone does change. Well, the time zone doesn't change, but the time changes. DST also ends in Portugal this weekend. And you know what? I never thought I would be glad of that. Oh, look, Gilda's here as well. I miss our mornings. Oh, Gilda. How are you this morning? Good to see you here. Hope you're well. And where was I? Yes, I never thought I would see. It used to be Monday with Gilda, didn't it? We do a half an hour with Gilda, and she would stay and then hang out with James. And no, that was my camera. You didn't suddenly have a change of blurry vision there. Something happened with my camera, as it does. I think it has a little stretch and a yawn itself, not unlike a few of the viewers and audience here this morning. Yeah, I didn't think, to go back to this for a third time, I didn't think I'd be glad to see the clock go back. But actually getting up in the morning when it's dark to take the dog out, I'm actually going to be glad to see a lighter morning. So it's going to be a darker evening though, isn't it? Or is it? Yeah, it is. I still can't get my head around that. Yeah, I think that's going to be good for the mornings. I think that's how it works, and I will be glad of it for one. And I never thought I'd say that ever in my life. House of Tonic. Oh, okay, that's loading up. Where's Dougie's video? I just uploaded or downloaded that so that I could play it to you. Here we go. Nice 2-minute taster from Douglas this morning. Let's see what he's got to say with us this morning. Apart from his morning and his borada, he's also saying to us, all this talk of lifts and escalators would have made me quite nervous a few weeks ago. I'm now fit enough post-accident to fly through the airportos. I'm glad to hear that, Doug. And when I saw you on Facebook all over the place, walking, nearly running around the coast of Wales, I was marveling actually at your recovery and how wonderful the human body is, right? I think it's amazing. Your recovery has been incredible, and you're an example of the miraculous recovery of the human body. Isn't it incredible? And Jill, I don't see why you shouldn't pop on from time to time on a Monday morning. That'd be all right, wouldn't it? Worse, the extra hour you're not paid, as they say, it's the hour less balances it out. That's true. I guess that is fair, isn't it? But not always that you work both. True. My first extra hour in 4 years, but I got the hour less. Wow. Bon dia alegria from Tony Time. Tony, our man in the Mino. Happy Monday. Great week ahead. Tony Time, the man in the Mino. How you doing, mate? And well done on the success of your recent sale as well. That house was never going to be on the market for long, one of the ones that we previewed with you. So congratulations to all concerned there. The people who have bought that have got themselves an absolute beauty of a home. They're looking forward to speaking to you again, Tony, with more properties from the north. Oh, we'll make up on the classes there. Okay. Gilda, we miss you too, says James. And what's this? Biden has become Pulginian. Weird, huh? Good morning. I mean, and no one's saying anything about it, are they? A few people are, but it's like it was really weird. His strange chin. Not to mention, many other strange things about that. No disrespect meant, but I mean, really. Leela Bugazi, good morning, Portugal. Hello, Leela. How are you? Good to see you here this morning. Let's have a quick 2-minute taster. Guess how long this is from Doug? No, you see, it's a 2-minute taster, but it's 1:52.
Fine morning right here in the Algarve. Time for one of our 2-minute tasters.
Hola, bom dia. How's everybody? This is the Costa del North Wales. It's October, and guess what? It's knocking on 20-odd degrees. I almost feel like this might be the Algarve. This little town of Carnarvon is fast becoming one of my favourite places in North Wales. It's just so pretty, no matter what time of year you come. These, of course, are the Menai Straits, and the land you see just opposite over there, that's the Isle of Anglesey.
Well, the floodlights have started to come on, and Carnarvon is getting ready to slumber for one of those long autumnal evenings. But it's looking rather fabulous. But tomorrow is another day, and tomorrow the forecast is for some extremely heavy rain. So batten down the hatches. Good morning to everybody in Portugal, and I hope to see you all soon with some 2-minute tasters from the Algarve and possibly a little bit beyond. Bom dia, one and all.
Thank you so much, though. Looking forward to those. I believe on your itinerary will be first stop Sagres. Oh, Martignel, very nice. I'm gonna see what I can do to get us a group discount on Martignal. Great, I've been lucky enough to stay at a couple of their resorts, and it's a great experience, Martignal. We haven't spoken to anyone from the team there recently, but let's reacquaint ourselves with Martignal and see if we can get you a discount there. Cartera, Villamora, Silves, Montchique, maybe as you alluded to there as well, Doug, Cadiz, and then back to Cartera. What a fantastic itinerary! Thank you. That's Doug's warm up. He will be returning to Portugal soon, and we can expect more fabulous videos from him. Looking forward to that. Let me bring to you now, and I'll come back to this with James, Bob, and Viv as well. But I want to give you a Portugal quiz question for today. Let's have a look then at just before 9 o'clock, welcoming James in just a moment and seeing what his mindful migration reflections are. But this morning's Learn About Portugal quiz question over at learnaboutportugal.com. Taste Atlas have named Portugal's clam dish with olive oil, garlic, lemon juice, cilantro, that's coriander by another name, and sometimes white wine as number 1 in the world. But where did Ameijosh, a bouillon paton, pato. Let me do that again. Ameijosh, a bouillon pato, typically enjoyed as an appetizer and are usually served with bread on the side. Where did they get their name? Is it because ducks, patos in Portuguese, love clams when they can get their beaks on them, their bills? From 19th century poet Raimundo Antonio de Bouillon Pato, or bouillon equates to bouillon or bouillabaisse, the fish stock also occasionally used in the dish. And if you're one of those people at home saying, I know this, pop over to gmpvip.com and make a guess of your own. In fact, there's a few more there. And what I suddenly realized looking at GMP VIP is there are many questions and not many have been answered. There's been quite a few guesses over time as well. Let me give you some highlights of what's been going on over there. Yeah, that's the Portugal quiz question for today. Why pato clams? Why are they called that? James Holley with some dad joke business over there. Unleash the power of now. That was over there over the weekend. What can we do to help our fellow foreigners affected by the situation, of course, in Israel, Palestine, Gaza? And I would love to talk to somebody who is from either of those communities. We have our Portugal Club, Portugal Immigrant Network meeting tomorrow evening at 8:30. It'll be really good to be able to talk to somebody to see how we can help better people directly affected from those communities. Try something Portuguese. This was also over there at Learn About Portugal, GMP VIP, the Beirão chocolate. Portugal has one of the coolest neighborhoods in the world of 2023. That was there as well. And a popular question, another foodie question there. The Learn About Portugal quiz back on Republic Day was what is or where is or who is Alcatraz? And of course, those Portuguese sayings of the day. There are 234 comments over there, most of them being Portuguese sayings with grateful thanks to Antonio. Big Tony, as he's called by Pete Bleach. So lots to look at over there, over at GMP VIP and learnaboutportugal.com. James coming up in just a moment. Bob and Viv joining us at 9:30. And closing the show today with some upbeat disco music from House Atonic and their track Silly from my old mate Kenrick there in Sheffield. A couple more comments then before we go to James this morning. The firewood here, says Suze, is old and very dry, burns fast and hot. Thinking I should buy a new supply, worried about sitting up the chimney. Advice, please. Yeah, there's a sweet spot, I suppose, with timber, isn't there? When it's too dry, it just burns up like balsa wood. Can anyone help Suze with that? And Doug, try to fit in a quick visit to Borgão Beach. Absolutely gorgeous. Yeah, I want to go to Borgão. Still haven't been to see our mate at Club. What's he called? The Club, is it called? Yes, our mate Tiago Zeferino. I haven't eaten there yet. I know some of you have. I haven't yet. Oh, found a superb restaurant I want to share with you. I was made a note of it so I could share it with Bobby and Andy. I think it would make a great restaurant for us to visit, the Englishman, the Irishman, and perhaps talk to the Portuguese man who owns that restaurant. He talks about the costs of running a restaurant, transparency, which is something a company called Isto, who make clothes, specialize in. And that's how I came across this wonderful gentleman whose name escapes me now, but a wonderful restaurant. I should put that into the chat and talk a little bit more about that later on in the show. And of course, Ishto, I want to talk about the clothes makers, the apparel designers and makers who trade on transparency. Fantastic company. And João de Nord. It's a sleepy morning for me today. Bon dia, Greer. Good morning to you. We won't talk too loud, João de Nord, so you can enjoy what sounds like a bit of a duvet day in progress over there. Did you go there? I love there in Portugal, says Gilda, who's still with us this morning. I'll get James onto the screen because I'm sure he'd like to say hello to Gilda this morning as well. Nice big round of applause, but only after I nearly forgot to play his theme tune there. After this wonderful theme tune, which will bring back memories for all of us, I think, Gilda included. Let's go.
Bom dia, Gilda!
Woo! Woo! Who the mindful migration man? You the mindful migration man. Tudo bem? Como estás, meu amigo?
Muito bem. E tu?
So, muito bem, obrigado. Muito bem. Muito chuva aqui. Bit soggy this morning. How is it where you are? Have you got that lovely view out your window, or is it a little bit of condensation and rain running down that window of yours?
Well, you know what? Even that's a lovely view for me. I'm not one of those people who refers to rain as bad and ugly and it's like, it's beautiful. Rain is amazing. I mean, what the sky does with thunder and lightning and rain is just fantastic. So, you know, the only downside for me is if I know I have to be in it and I'm going to get wet and I can't get dry. That's the only issue for me.
Yeah.
As long as I can get dry after I've been in it, I'm all good. So I don't adhere to the bad weather unless it's destroying, you know, human lives and things like that. Then I wouldn't call that good weather necessarily. But you know, it's not the rain's fault.
No, it's true. It's true. And I've been soggy more times than I would care for recently. But in the spirit of going out anyway and thinking, okay, it's not too bad. But actually,
what is it? Oh, it's water.
But it has got to me. I mean, by that I mean not got to me psychologically. I thought, okay, I don't mind a bit of a shower. I'm like you in this regard. A little bit of rain on my face is really nice. But I got really wet and it was coming through my clothes. And that's it's very sobering, isn't it? I think to experience that from time to time, to realize how lucky we are for those of us who do have ready access to shelter and warmth and dry clothes. I mean, to be out on the streets at the moment, and you know, for the humans who find themselves in that awful position, and for animals, you know, it really is quite dangerous, perilous out there at certain times. And when you have these downpours that completely drench you to the skin, that's a pretty perilous situation to be in.
Can be.
Yeah.
And I just have to ask: Have you ever stood in the rain naked?
Yeah, I think I have. If not naked, then fairly close to, and feeling the rain on one's naked or semi-naked body. If you've just tuned in, good morning to you. It's a wonderful it's a wonderful thing, isn't it?
It is. It's amazing. And, you know, again, if you can come inside and dry off, it's all good. If you had to, you know, if that was the only life you had available to you, it might not be quite so pleasant. But yes.
Quite. A life of wet nakedness would be quite the hell, really.
And cold,
the other is true. I mean, as I'm casting my mind back to moments of great nakedness, and what I'll do is to save Gilda's professionalism here, I'll take her name off the screen in association with some amount to make, because she is in no way.
I don't know these guys. Oops, wrong show.
I remember, as well as I think being naked in the rain, and I do like the occasional streak when me and Mrs. M have been camping, and I feel like I'm the first person up on the campsite, or the campsite isn't very busy. I do like to do a naked dash from the when we had one from the camper van to maybe, you know, I'll run to that tree, touch it, and run back again. And it's quite thrilling to do so. And I apologize publicly now if I've offended anyone or scared any horses in the making of. Please take my name off the screen.
Oh, come on, talk with us about this. This will be fun.
I remember I had the duties of watering a polytunnel, and being in there naked was really wonderful as well. Being in the heat, intense heat, naked as well is good as well, I think, as is being rained on too in that condition. Any recollections or anything else you'd like to share, James, while we're on the subject?
Well, it just struck me, and not surprisingly, that I think still deep in our DNA is that connection to nature, right?
Yeah.
And our origins before we adopted clothing, that's who we were, just naked animals in nature. So
Right.
I think that some of those little touches of, I don't know what you want to call it. The word that came to my mind was scintillating, but whatever those experiences are may actually go deep into our DNA back from our original sources. So it's kind of fun to be able to access that from time to time.
It is, isn't it?
Oh, this is sort of the foundation of being human right here. That feels.
Yeah, absolutely right. And we exactly you're spot on there. We haven't always been clothed in this way, have we? And I made mention of the transparent clothing manufacturer Ishto. I need to point out that their clothing isn't literally transparent, rendering us naked again. They have a transparent costing process, a manufacturing process.
They tell you what it costs them to make their stuff.
Exactly. It's not see-through. It's not transparent in that regard. And it would be interesting. I don't know anything about the history of clothing and why humans probably went first to the loincloth and then had to clothe themselves in colder climates. But you talked about little touches. I suspect it was the little touches with nettles and brambles that began the first loincloths, and then other clothes. Now there's an idea, says Louise. I might try that naked in the rain thing. Probably good. It's a wonderful
Absolutely.
experience.
Yeah,
I'll let you know how I get on. Please do, Louise. I think Louise getting a lot of value from the show in the last week or so. And thanks, Thunderduck. This is not the same program anymore. And there's a lovely compliment to you from Gilda. Bom dia, James. Your Portuguese is better every day. Now, I don't know if Gilda is perhaps embarrassed because it's not a sort of culturally acceptable thing, Portuguese-wise, but there are quite a lot of naturist nudist beaches, I think. So I don't think it's entirely alien to the culture in which we find
And my
ourselves.
experience of the Portuguese so far, limited as it is that they're much more upfront about all kinds of human functions that, in our more puritanical cultures. It's like, oh, you can't say naked. Oh, you can't talk about genitals. Oh, no, that was a human bodily function. They're just very upfront. It's like, I had to poop. It's like, okay, great.
Gilda's definitely gone now.
Yes. Okay, I'm out of here.
Gilda, we really do miss you for a second time.
Especially now, huh, Thunder?
And Gary's saying, I won't say it, Gary. I will not say it. Some new experiences and differences have brought the project house in Ericeira district. Okay, that's going back to the Portugal's biggest problem here. Alvazara is very agricultural, and the new place is an area of forestry. Some great characters about. I don't know if you are talking about problems experienced, or that's just an observation. New experiences and differences. Having bought. Oh, yeah, I don't think that is a complaint at all, is it? It's just a statement of fact that you're having a new experience there.
Maybe he's talking about people walking around naked in the woods. I don't know.
Maybe they do. And no one bats an eyelid. No one bats anything, in fact, any part of their body with that. Okay, well, I think it's probably time to move on from naturism, nakedness, and nudism here in Portugal. Suffice to say, you're absolutely right, I think, James, about the robustness of the Portuguese character when it comes to bodily functions. I mean, you just only have to look at the ceramics and confections in some parts of the country to realize that people don't have a big problem with it. And Vivian says, naked bodies, everybody has one. So celebrate it. Oh, okay, come on, let's do it. No, maybe we'll wait.
As the joke goes, if I was meant to walk around naked, I would have been born that way.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yes, we were.
I've said this once or twice before. But dear Boaz, actually, who has returned from Portugal to Israel, his native Israel, he used to run, I think there were workshops called Naked, and I had him on the show once. And I thought the right thing to do here is to be naked when he arrives and be naked for the entire show, because that's what we're talking about. And he turned up fully clothed for that. And I had to sit there for an hour or whatever, just being naked while he was sat there with his flipping sweatshirt on or whatever. But lots of love to you, Boaz. Yeah, and your Facebook posts are extremely moving, and your reasons for going back to your home country of Israel at this time in human history are very moving. So all the best and love to you, Boaz, if you're watching. Bon dia, alegria. And did you see this from last week, James? We had Bon dia, what was it? Algeria. And Bon dia, Algeria. We've got variants now, but Bon dia, Alegria, of course, from the founder, creator of the comment and contribution to our community, Philomena, beijinhos, Carl, James, and of course, the next trip with Philomena is to the wonderful horse fair in Golgal. So if you want to join with that, Philomena, indicate, do so now. And tripsforbrits@gmail.com is where you will be able to register your interest. And we're heading there. I believe it's on the 11th of November, not long now, for that particular trip. And who else is here? Mr. S, grammar lesson. Oh, say Pedragon, Carl and James help him. Pedro with the accent. The accents
Excellent.
are Pedragon. But Pedragon Grande, I think, makes it a little bit more difficult. But I think I did fairly well there. He'll tell me, of course. I have a suit for it. This is for the nakedness, and it only has one button. We can't get off the subject now, can we? Smash that like button, says Bob. And a smaller village makes the local community more reliant and communicate with each other. And as local newbies, we've attracted a lot of attention. We have Philomena, and she is a real character. Oh, that's our little local community online here. Now, Pedrogon. Oh, is
it? Accent was in the wrong place.
So there you go. Mr. S is trying to show me up with my pronunciation. And actually, that backfired terribly with a, with a pushback from Professor Pascual and Pedrogon. There you go. You need help. Yeah, coming on here. Trying to catch me out like Pedrogon, I think is what we'll go with after all. Although I did pronounce it correctly according to the spelling.
Yes, according to the accent. Absolutely.
Yes, there you go. James, what's been on your mind just recently? Mindful migration, please.
Well, every once in a while, there's things I want to come back to, but I did want to make a comment on your power of now. And it's relevant to my experience. I think you may have seen my comment on the Love Portugal site, but I'll talk about that in a minute. But it just reminded me of an anecdote. When I was a hairstylist, I had a client who was an attorney doing very good work for representing kids with special needs in the public schools. But he was one of the clients who would just sit in the chair and look at his paperwork and be working all the time. He'd run in, he'd be 2 minutes late and say, "Sorry, I'm late," and come sit down and try a conversation piece, one or two, go, "Yeah, And then, he was just all the time, full bore all the time. And somehow I managed to pop in some comment about the book, The Power of Now. And he stopped and he looks up at me, he says, "Yeah, my wife got that book. She wants me to read it, but I don't have time for that." I said, "I'll be here now later." It just stuck with me. Be here now later. That would be another great book title.
Yes, spot on. I mean, that is such a delightful little vignette of the human condition, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And it goes to my comment on the Love Portugal site, which is the question was, what's the greatest growth or the biggest change you've noticed? And for me, it was slowing down. It really was. It was more suited to my nature, right? I'm not someone who, I don't know that any of us really are, who's built to work on that level, the level of that client I was talking about. It just, I always needed to take a break every once in a while. But it took me, I don't know, probably 1 to 2 months to actually get it into my body and into my lifestyle when I got here. And I even though I wasn't in a rush and I was walking slowly, I felt like I had to get there faster. And you need to speed up. That just that feeling. And after a while, it's like, and I found my pace, my natural pace, and it felt so good to slow down, to not have to squeeze past an elderly couple that was walking very slowly in a narrow street. Just smile and walk slowly, or stand and wait till there was an opening and then pass and say bon dia, and, just in a much more relaxed way, standing in American English lines, British English queues at the supermarket. I saw a meme the other day that said, in the Netherlands, they've developed registers that are designed for people who just want to stand and talk for a while.
Yeah.
Particularly for seniors. And my first thought was, in Portugal, they call that a queue. I mean, that's just, that's that. If you want to stand and talk, just stand and talk. It's going to happen.
That would be so good, wouldn't it? At a Intermarché board meeting, an intern or somebody over from France or wherever their headquarters.
We should introduce this.
Yeah, and everyone else, all the Portuguese people in the boardroom, will sort of look at each other like, what are they talking about?
That's right. That's it. Yes. Huh? What's the big deal?
Indeed. And there's your comment for us right there, James. And Heather was quick to respond as well. This is, the answer to the question, what are the biggest personal growth issues Portugal is giving or has given you? Embrace the reality that is the unknown from Heather. In fact, you have no choice in the matter. And I love this, the idea that we might be penning together a personal development classic based on what Portugal itself and the Portuguese culture can give us, which is, of course, many gifts, I think, of this high level. There are the little sort of itty-bitty irritations that you get everywhere in life, anywhere, and are peculiar to a culture. And then there's, of course, I think, something that's in the DNA of a culture, something that's typical or unique about that culture and what it can bring to you. And, some of it is like we're like ducks to water. We love it. I mean, that's, I love Portuguese culture. That's the thing to me. It's not the politics, obviously. It's not some of the peripheral things. It's the depth of the culture that I think I've fallen in love with. The kindness. Yeah, these things are there, aren't they? And they are great. Some of them we're gravitating towards, a pull towards, we absolutely love. And then there's parts of it, as there will be, of course, with anything in life, that are not quite so attractive. But then they can be the great teachers and the things that, if we bear with it and don't record another video about why we're leaving here, they can be the things that, if we work with, like any great relationship, will give us the juice and the marrow inside the awkward bones of our relationship with anything, and in this case, the country. So I think there's a lot of mileage in there, bearing with it, being mindful, and seeing what is irritating you at any great level. And what can that teach us? And going back to what you were saying, James, about the adjusting, it doesn't happen immediately, does it? A lot of people rationally think to themselves, well, when I get to Portugal, I'll relax. But it doesn't happen it doesn't happen straight away, does it? I think people need to know that, because these habits of a lifetime are running us. And I've certainly, something's happened to me in the last couple of weeks. I don't know quite what it is, but I think it's some of the discussions we're having with Mrs. M on her Barefoot broadcast. But I thought I was a fairly relaxed person, but in the last couple of weeks, I'm tangibly realized or reached another level of calm, and it's not indifference, but you get the gist. It's an indifference to some of the things that would have bothered me previously. I've achieved a new level of calm. That I didn't know was even possible, and I think that's a lot. That's got to be something to do with being here in this country.
Yeah, well, and another piece of it is that until we get into a different place with a different pace and a different lifestyle, we may not. And in this case, I wasn't even aware that I had this hurry up and get there internal thing. Like I felt like I was Mr. Mellow in the US because I wasn't doing that all the time. But then I got here and I said, oh, this is a whole other level of mellow in terms of slowing down and, appreciating the moment. Now, I do have to say, while I haven't experienced it personally much, there's a lot of people who talk about the Portuguese are different people when they're in their cars on the road. Some of them are very, very slow, but some of them are also very, very fast. That may be just universal to being in a car. I don't know. But so that's the one place where I think you'll find more exceptions to just slow down and take it easy attitude is when you're on the highway.
Yep, true. That's certainly my experience. And again, it's something that can be educational as well, deeply so. We've got some comments about the power of now. There's also the franchise Now That's What I Call Music. So my book has a long way to go. They're up to Now That's What I Call Music 96. I heard a joke actually about the 80s, and so a lad who was setting up his bachelor pad because he was keen to meet and woo ladies in the 80s, and he said, yeah, I got my stereo stacker system with a graphic equalizer and I put in a cassette. Now That's What I Call Music 2. That's been an enduring. I don't think. Did you have that in the United States? Now That's What I Call Music. Is that a thing over there? Those compilations?
I didn't recognize it.
Must be a
I
British
was
thing.
trying to work it out as you were talking, and then I got, okay. Now that's what I call music. All right, yeah.
Now That's What I Call Music.
Mhm.
This is I think there's some mileage in this. No, we have Philomena in the new. There's different Philomena in the new village.
What? There's more than one?
I can't believe it. So there are 2 Philomenas, it would appear, in Portugal. And this other one is a 72-year-old full of mischief and energy. We do like a 72-year-old of that type. She has the most fantastic eyes, clear, bright, and full of life. She passes the house every day carrying heavy loads. It's an interesting description. Thank you for that. Can we have a selfie? If she's okay with that, Gary, how about a selfie of you and her? For the Good Morning Portugal show. She doesn't have to be carrying a heavy load in the photograph. It'll probably be better if she puts down her heavy load for a moment with you. I purchased a historical novel yesterday. That sounds like the beginning of a dad joke, doesn't it? I purchased a historical novel yesterday titled Sombra da Guilhotina. Learning to read Portuguese is part of my language learning adventure. Nice one.
That's a dark title if it means what I think it means. Shade of the Guillotine?
Yeah,
is that what it means?
A critically acclaimed historical novel about the French Revolution.
Yeah,
okay. And they had a particular way of dealing with some of their problems, didn't they? There. What's this? Philomena saying to the other Philomena, the original. I keep forgetting that if you live in Covilhã, you use a lot more old Portuguese words and more similar to Spanish than us. So there you go. You're forgiven, Mr. S, on that basis.
That is such a great example of the politics of the world and the opinions of the world. It's like, no, I'm right, you're wrong. It's like, oh, you do it different. Sorry.
Yes, exactly. Well said.
Correct. Yes.
Now of all times, we need to hear that. Yeah. Let's not race to being right here. Let's understand a little bit of nuance before we get the guillotine out.
Looking at Gilda's comment.
Well, can we formalize this process? Is this about learning Portuguese? I think it probably is, isn't it? So can we actually do this? I think that's quite drastic. I think we should start with a day, don't you, James?
I think that has to do with the pace of the Portuguese.
Oh, I see.
That's my guess.
All right. Yeah. Okay. So it's no calma, tranquilo at the EI office, I don't suppose. It's the effect of dealing with all these people who want.
These guys have a book flight and they haven't got their visas yet. We need to get this taken care of.
Go!
Yeah, I can see that.
That's probably what it's like in the EI office, and a great place to learn Portuguese. So, is that possible, Gilda? Can we, like in some restaurants, you can sit next to the kitchen and watch what's going on through a window. Maybe we need to do that at the EI office. The boss's table, and you sit next to Gilda and you learn about how busy it can be in Portugal and pick up a few choice words of Portuguese at the same time. I think that's a possibility there. I've been resisting contacting EI about a bunch of issues. In the US, we expect an update continuously. I'm sitting on my hands, and those emojis show that that's not comfortable experience. But well done, Michael, for being like that.
And the thing is, you never know. Sometimes waiting is all you need to do. And sometimes if you wait, your thing is at the bottom of a pile and will never be found. So you just don't know. Do I need to remind them to look for my thing, or do I just be patient and wait for the system to do what it does? And you never know. So that's the discomfort.
And you can come to some sort of compromise, I think, can't you? Because we are talking about important processes here that if you miss deadlines, it makes it more difficult. So why not come to some sort of hybrid, a balance between the two of like, who cares? Let's see what happens. And time is money, goddammit, chap, chap, busy, busy, that guy. There must be something in the middle, mustn't there? Like, do you know what? I am getting a bit stressed about this, and this is important. I'm gonna make the call on Friday. If I haven't heard anything by Friday, I'm gonna pick up the phone or I'm gonna send an email on Friday. And then you kind of dealt with it, haven't you, in a practical
Yeah,
way?
I did that concerning my driver's license. The expiration of my temporary was coming up, and I said, I don't know what happens if it expires. I don't imagine much because I'm just waiting to get the real one in the mail. So it's not like, okay, I got to start all over again or whatever. I didn't worry too much about that. But I said, a week ahead, I'm going to send an email with an explanation of what I'm waiting for. And then if I don't hear from them within 3 days, I'm going to send them another email. And then if I don't hear from them, I'm going to start sending them an email every day.
Yep.
Just to increase as I approached it. And I don't know, it could have just been a coincidence. But after my second email, and this is all through their portal, so I had to copy and paste, so I had a record of it. After my second email, within 24 hours, I had a email response. It wasn't very satisfying, but at least they noticed that I had something going on. The response was, some sort of bullshit thing about we're looking at the something details or whatever. It's like bullshit. You probably went, oh shit, where is that?
And then can I just clarify here? You're talking about dealing with Seth's portal, are you on this?
No, this is IMT.
Yeah. Oh, IMT. I beg your pardon.
License,
So
yes.
That's a government website. We're not talking about any company.
Seth, I don't know that you would get anything at this point. They are so scrambled. I always imagine with the Portuguese political announcements, it's like when you step on an ant trail, everything's kind of in the order that it is. Things are going back and forth, then you step on it and everything goes, wah! It's just freak out and run. I just imagine Seth being in that state right now.
Yes. Yeah. And can give you a nasty bite if necessary.
Yes.
To extend your analogy there. Okay, I want to look at some of your visual dad jokes that you've been sending me, James, and I'm sure our conversation will continue around the themes of mindful migration and practical steps that can be taken when dealing with any of the problems you have here in Portugal. A serious question from John here for Philomena about going on a trips for Brits here to Galgal. If I pretend to be one, can I join? Now we should clarify here: you don't have to be British to be on the trip, but it does help.
That's back when all the immigrants in Portugal were British. That's when that.
Of course, it dates back. It dates back to those times. You have to practice your British English. So you are allowed, but you have to step aboard the bus and go, "Hello,
I see.
Hello."
I think I could get away with that a bit.
Jolly good day to you all. That's enough. And maybe later on in the day, so, when are we stopping for cucumber sandwiches, Philomena? Something like that. And that's probably enough. You don't have to spend the whole day in method acting being a British person, or Reservoir Dogs. Other British stereotypes are available, but you don't have to do it for the whole day. I'm glad we cleared that up. Apparently you can get you're probably up to speed with this, but for others in this condition, you can get a new temporary driver's license. I had to get several. We're taking T-Duck back to his IMT PTSD, aren't we, with this particular situation that you speak of?
Yes, he and I are sharing that experience. He still has the record. I'm trying not to have that record.
Yes. Right, you sent this in because we have been talking about time recently, haven't we? This is you, isn't it, that sent this to me?
Yes.
I believe. Okay, let me just take that off the screen so we can see the punchline. Do you want to voice this yourself, James?
Okay. When you realize that 1980 and 2023 are as far apart as 1980 and 1937.
That's outrageous, isn't it?
If we talk about perspective, we're looking, well, kind of forward, but backward. Yeah. It's like, what?
Yeah.
1937 and 1980, that was a century.
I feel like
it wasn't a century from now. Yeah.
Yeah.
That one hit me.
Yeah, me too. And also you sent me go on.
Oh, would you look at that? An old Lang sign.
Very good. I found one here. has Katia Lima written all over it, doesn't it? Away with you, angel of death, or I'll fight you off with my pillow. And the Grim Reaper says, you shouldn't challenge death to a pillow fight unless you're prepared for the repercussions. I think that's very good.
I'm one who's not ashamed to admit I enjoy puns. So
Me too. I know some people. I think John Cleese is somebody who hates the pun. Well-respected Monty Python comedian. I think he calls it the lowest form of wit. He's not a big fan, but that's not going to stop us, John. And what happened to you, John, recently? If I can grow out of this crack in the road, then this is a bit of motivation here for you. And a school of hard knocks from the pavement. If I can grow out of this crack in the road, then you can grow out of your questionable taste in music, terrible eating habits, and that awful personality of yours. Is that the kind of inspirational quote you were after? Says the plant growing out of the sidewalk here. Probably we'd see a poppy, wouldn't we? You do see that here. And I was thinking that the other day as I was walking along the calçadas with the dogs, having to weed the calçadas when it gets overgrown is a hellish job. And I understand why they want to use weed killer on that. Doing it manually would be quite... maybe they could burn it off or something. But yeah, quite the job with the calçadas.
I think that's part of the point of that cartoon is we look at a weed and we go, you stupid weed, get out of my way. And it's like, look what I've accomplished. I've grown into this, growing out of that challenge. Yeah. So I think that's a part of it too. At least that's how I see it.
No, agreed. And on this thing about the time, looking back, looking forward, where we are and how time is so relative. I posted something up over the weekend. It's a guy talking about life since the year 2000 and how it hasn't changed very much. Have you noticed this, James?
Something about fashion, or I don't know if that's the same one, but someone was talking about how fashion used to change every 10 years and it's been stuck since 2000, something like that. Yeah.
Does it occur to you in the same way? I mean, I remember as a kid in the 80s thinking that looking at pictures of the 50s, 60s, and even the 70s, thinking, wow, my parents lived through those times. They were like, they looked historical. They looked truly like a different era. And then it seems like since the late 90s and into the 2000s, we haven't had that. We wouldn't look at the photo album in quite the same way, would we? And laugh out loud at the.
I don't think so. I have a theory.
Go on.
And that's because my kids grew up when the whole fashion was what they called sagging, where you're wearing your pants down around your thighs. And my observation was, each sort of decade, there was a certain fashion that typically young people around high school, college adopted that was very different than their parents. And I saw that as being sort of a pushback and a revolting against, parents and all that, because that's been historical through the years, through the centuries. And then somewhere around the time that my kids started dressing the way they were dressing, I should add, and then the older generation started adopting that style. So they
that's right. That's right. Yeah.
And so moved on to something else, and then the older generation started adopting that style. So they kept moving on because the grown-ups are starting to look like that. And my joke has been that when that whole sagging, hat crooked and backwards and all the stuff that was going on fashion-wise at that time, I think the older generations just said, "Nah, I'm not doing that." And so it kind of got stuck, and I don't know what happened in around 2000 in terms of styles, but I don't have any recollection of any fashion. Basically, it's around fashion that has changed drastically in the last 20 years.
You make a good point about how older people, the parents and the grandparents, look more like the kids these days as well. It was very clear, wasn't it, who was a daddy-o and a square in the 60s or the 50s, and the kids were really sort of demarcating themselves and their culture, weren't they, between them and their parents. And then those lines have been blurred. That's part of what's going on as well, isn't it? I mean, when I see this typically at an airport, I'll see somebody, from the back, perhaps they've got a hoodie on and a baseball cap and a big pair of headphones, and they've got a courier bag over their shoulder, and that could be a teenager traveling, or it could be a 50, 60-year-old man traveling, couldn't it, in exactly the same outfit. And I'm a little bit saddened by that, I have to say. I quite like the idea of dressing up for travel and, being upgraded as you step onto the plane in your 3-piece suite, cane, top hat, and monocle. And someone saying, there must be some mistake here. Why are you turning right at the top of the stairs? Please come through. It never happens, but it is a shame. And of course you want to travel comfortably, but it looks like there's been a homogenization, hasn't there, of culture with this.
Yeah, I think
everyone looks the same.
It's also been my observation that we tend to then adopt whatever the style or fashion was to a degree as adults. So, I mean, not surprisingly, and this, I don't know if this is a universal thing, but t-shirts and blue jeans was kind of the thing that was like A-okay. And that is pretty much what I'm comfortable in and what I wear most of the time. And I've seen similar things. I mean, I'm not wearing bell bottoms and tie-dye t-shirts anymore.
Bell bottoms.
Yes, bell bottoms and tie-dye t-shirts. Yeah, that was kind of the big statement. But in terms of overall appearance, and of course, when I think about it, denim pants and t-shirts have been big since the mid 50s onward. I mean, I think what defined cool back in the mid to late 50s was, a white t-shirt with your cigarette rolled up in your short sleeve and your blue jeans, so.
Born in the USA. Look, let's bring Bob and Viv into this conversation with us.
Speaking of born in the USA.
Jeans were workwear, weren't they? Our kids stole the jeans from the old farmers and working guys, didn't they? Anyway.
And gold miners, that's where Levi's came from.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Migration fashion tips. Who knew? Yes. Where's my top hat? Okay, let's bring him onto the screen. Woo! Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Good morning, Bob and Viv.
There we are. There you
Good
are. Morning. We were muted. Sorry about that. Bon dia.
Well, I'm sorry to wait so long. We got all caught up in a fashion conversation there. Why things haven't changed since the year 2000. Everyone looks the same. And dressing for travel. You look beautifully dressed, the pair of you, for this morning's appearance. Have you a view on this?
Got my t-shirt on.
But you look so complimentary and lovely and crisp and clean this morning, if I may say so.
Yes, that's just an energetic happening. We didn't even think about it. We
weren't even in the same room.
No.
You're just naturally in tune like that and complimentary.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. But anyway.
But what do you think? I mean, not a lot's changed, has it, since the year 2000? Culturally, it would appear.
No, it hasn't.
We were talking about that too.
Hair, everything changed drastically up until then, and then it just stopped.
Yeah.
And things have been the same for nearly 25 years now.
Yeah.
Even the width of ties isn't going, fatter and thinner, and even those changes. The size of the knot for men's clothing hasn't changed.
That all changed.
It's interesting. However, what did you say you just bought?
I just bought a pair of bell bottoms.
Yeah, that's it.
I wore them 55 years ago, and I'm about to wear them again.
Well, I do hope, Viv, that you're going to be finding some old clothing and then extending the darts into the bell bottoms and putting a paisley insert in or something like that in there to make
I've done that too. Yeah. I had a pair of jeans. My first husband had a pair of jeans that kept wearing out, and they turned into all hand-sewn patches all the way down the front of his legs for just different hand-sewn. I wish I had them now. They'd be worth $1 million.
Yeah, they'd be amazing.
They were just a skirt.
Yeah, and a quilt, and then a quilt eventually.
Yes,
Here's another thing. Sorry, Bob. But can I just share this with you? Look at this.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that as a generation we've all agreed to stop ironing our clothes. That's another part of this, isn't it?
Me too.
That's
pretty much. I still iron some shirts.
She does.
Linen shirts.
My linen shirts.
Yeah, they have to be ironed. They get wrinkled again anyway. But if you don't, they just look like you wadded them up and put them on. They're kind of terrible looking. So.
Yeah,
Still iron those.
she still irons those.
Yeah.
But,
I got a travel tip for you. If you haven't got an iron, and just put it in the shower with you, or the
Yeah.
steamiest room in the house.
Yeah.
That
That
helps.
helps.
Yes. Okay. Use that in Tamar the other weekend. Right,
yeah.
Bob. I interrupted you, Bob. Sorry. Go on. What you going to add something? I think to the culture debate this morning.
Oh yeah, but it's gone now. So
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Oh, Levi's were actually made for the miners in the gold,
in
the
the
gold
gold
rush.
rush, yeah,
They had
back
to
in the
have really
1800s.
sturdy pants.
Yeah.
They had to have
Yeah.
sturdy
Well,
fabric and the rivets and all that. They were
Yeah,
that's what they were
Levi
invented for.
went out to California to become a rich millionaire with gold and struck out, but he found a whole other need.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
What we're talking about in Portugal. He said,
Right.
"Oh, all these miners, they're burning themselves, or their pants are getting shredded. I need to come up with a article of clothing they can wear that will last." So
Exactly.
the metal rivets in the pocket seams, all of that stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. And
It
as
It
a
was all for
Pants
that.
miners.
yeah,
And then the farmers took it over and said, wow, that's a great idea.
Yeah, those are durable pants. They'll last
And you
forever.
can wear them for 3 weeks without washing them. Yeah.
Perhaps we should be
Only
saying
three?
trousers
Not-
for the Brits.
not-
Oh, yeah, at least.
not on the pig farm I grew up
Oh,
on.
that would have
No,
smelled bad. Yeah. That would have been bad.
What I was going to say about
Yeah.
the clothes and all that kind of stuff, the thought all came back, was that when we moved here, I still had shirts from the 70s and sweaters, and sweaters were no longer a thing in the US. And so we didn't bring any of I had all these great cable knit sweaters, and and they all stay behind. And I get here, and here are these guys wearing sweaters and sweater vests and all this. It's like, I left my wardrobe behind and we brought yours.
Yes.
You could have made a fortune selling those off. Or wearing them.
Long gone
Here,
now.
maybe. No,
We
no
will
market
come
there.
back. We'll come back to your question, Mama Llama. Otherwise, if you fall out with me, we might end up with a bit of a Mama Llama ding dong. Sorry. That's not helping at the moment, is it? Because you have a serious question here. We just need to conclude here on this clothing and culture thing before we find out how you're doing, Bob and Viv, and what's going on for you Portugal-wise. Do they still make clothes that need to be ironed? Yes, they do, T-Duck. And
Yeah.
James
Well, it
beat me.
depends on how you define needs to be ironed. If nothing needs to be ironed, then I guess they don't.
Yeah, there you go. James beat me to the tie thing. Jeans, however, are constantly changing. Wide leg, low rise, etc. Low
This is
rise.
true.
Skinny
Yeah.
jeans, yeah.
But
Yeah,
they're
I need
all
to get some
recycled. They've all been done before. There's no such thing as a new style of jeans.
that's
It's
true
been
of fashion
done
in
at some
general, I
point.
think. But yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know
it
what? I
just
think
comes back.
also there's probably an environmental thing. The in fashion, there's the circular fashion thing, isn't there? And the fashion industry has been criticized for changing things every year, obviously just to make money. And that's not a good look, is it, when it comes to sort of the environmental aspects of fashion?
Yeah.
So that's probably another
Yeah.
part of this conversation. We're too busy keeping up with the changes in technology to cope with other changes. That's interesting because technology's definitely changed in the last 23 years, that's for sure.
Haven't got time for this clothing stuff.
Yeah, right. And the Silicon Valley approach to clothing is just to get the black polo neck, turtleneck, and a pair of jeans, and it's the same thing every day, isn't it? Every single day to make it easy. Today's show, everything from naked bodies to we all dress the same. They're very well spotted, Chardonnay. Thank you for that. And my grandmother ran a dress shop, and my grandfather ran a tailor shop. They always said the clothes are the man and the woman, and presumably, and we've lost. Oh, and presumably, what's the end of this? The man said, hold on, I'll start this again. My grandmother, a dressmaker, and my grandfather, a tailor, said the clothes are the man and the woman, and the
Man
clothes
is the popper.
And the man is the popper.
Do we understand that? Because I don't.
No,
I don't understand that. You have to help us out with that, Doug. This time we packed 4 suitcases with clothes we haven't worn for years. Yes, it's picking up on what you said there, Bob. Dress shirts, blouses. My goodness, I haven't heard that for a long time.
Yeah.
Blouses.
Yeah.
And blouse jackets as well. And merino sweaters. That's a good choice. That's a good choice in hot weather, isn't it? Damp weather.
Understand.
Overcoat. Well done, Michael. Well done.
Yes.
The luxury to do that. Perfect. Okay, so what's going on? And maybe we can answer Mama Llama's question. You're going to get questions like this these days, aren't you, Bob and Viv? Mama Llama here. hello from the East Coast of the USA. Can you, a question here, can you summarize the tax changes? Probably we can't do that live on air in an easy summary, as it will affect daily purchases and monthly costs. Would it be like 25% higher daily monthly costs? Well, the tax changes are to do with personal taxation and the NHR, not to do with either on purchases and monthly costs. So, I think costs are going up for sure, cost of living crisis, etc. But that's not a result of the NHR. How has that affected your business and how you're working with people, Bob and Viv? Have you felt a repercussion with the NHR?
Yeah, people are freaking out. They're, but we're just cautioning them to calm down, calm down. Everybody's different. It depends on how much money you make. It depends on what kind of money it is. It depends on a lot of things. Go see an accountant, run your numbers, not everybody else's, but yours, and see how it changes it. It's not going to change much for us. Well, we get to keep ours anyway because we already have it. But if we lost it tomorrow, it still wouldn't change that much. Our tax rate will not go to 48%.
No,
we don't have that money. We don't make that kind of money.
I think that's one thing that people don't realize is that in Portugal, income, earned income, so your income tax is based on how much you make, and the percentage goes higher the more you make. So it goes from, I think, as low as 15% up to 40%, depending on how much you're making. And I think a lot of people don't understand that.
They don't understand that. And there's a lot of misinformation out there. It makes me crazy because everybody says, oh, it's going to 48.5% no matter who you are. It's like, no, it isn't. It isn't.
Yeah. And there's
just like the NHR doesn't eliminate your taxes. That was another thing people used to say.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't mean you don't pay taxes. Everybody pays taxes.
Right.
Another aspect that I've looked at was actually talking with an American yesterday. We'll have to tell you what we did yesterday. It has to do with clothes and animals and all that kind of thing.
Really? But, and nakedness as well?
Pardon?
The animals were naked, yes.
Yes, they were.
Carry on.
But, people in the United States don't. Portugal is actually more upfront, kind of, in many ways, because people in the United States don't have any perception of how much they're actually spending on taxes. And a few years ago, you didn't earn any money for yourself until mid to late May. And I don't know where it's at now.
It all went to taxes until that point.
Yeah. And so people, because of the VAT here, they think, oh, things are sky high, but it's all included in the price. So it goes back to many things with mindful migration is your perception may not be the reality. Yeah. And you can skew anything you want, So but with Portugal Pathfinders too, the other thing, as all this is getting figured out, we're perfectly positioned for people that are already in country, but grabbed that first rental they could find for their D7, and now are traveling the country looking.
They want to move.
We're also perfectly positioned to show those people the north country of Portugal, along with a place to stay while they're here and everything. So we'll just pivot a little bit as things kind of flesh out. But
well, that's really interesting. Thank you for that. And I think you're right, absolutely spot on there, Viv, about the checking the fact checking yourself and your assumptions. And I think you said something along the lines of perception isn't reality. And that's a difficult thing for human beings because we're bound to perceive, aren't we? That is how we see the world, as a perception. And sometimes that can go a little bit wrong. And I think, one of the worst case scenario is, the people. Let's take the example of Americans, and the first thing they hear is that it's a wonderful place to come and live, and then somehow they hear that it's a socialist country, and that's like the first little shudder. Well, I love it. The food's all right, so I can put up with the socialism thing, whatever that is, and whatever that means. And it's like, and then they hear sometimes people get taxed 48%. So, whoa, what? 48 eye-watering percent of my money being taken away?
Right.
Socialism, big tax. And then finally, like, a couple of weeks ago, and now they're getting rid of the NHR. Run! It's like,
I don't even know what it is. It's a bad thing.
Yeah,
right.
don't go to Portugal.
That's right. Get away from me, Portugal. How dare you?
Yes.
And all of those things are sort of perceptive problems, aren't they? And as you say, it's progressive tax. The NHR got to mean something which didn't mean anyway. It was always going to end after 10 years. And
Right.
you understand the nuance of socialism here in Portugal. I'm not making
Right.
saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying it is probably different to how you might have perceived it or been brought up to view the word itself. So
Yes.
that's it's so true, Viv, what you say. A lot of what's gone on is just a challenge to people's perceptions. I guess it's perception fueled by emotion, isn't it? And then we know we're in trouble.
It is. It's all emotional, and it's oh God, I had it. Now they're taking it away from me, and nobody likes that. Nobody likes that. But
when it's perceived as a good thing, it's being taken away. Yeah.
Usually it's a good thing taken away, and then everybody gets all freaked out. But go to a good tax lawyer who understands international taxes and have them tell them everything about your situation, and they will let you know how it's going to affect you. And it may not be enough to even matter. It may be enough that you don't want to do it, but at least you'll know.
At least you'll
And
know.
you won't be going on supposition.
After you assess it, it's like, oh, well, this is more and this is less. You compare that to healthcare and you do all that stuff.
Exactly. You're going to save enough on healthcare alone to pay a whole lot of more taxes.
Yeah.
It's just, it's all, you have to look at the whole picture.
It's like we can't say this message enough, can we? So I hope that helps you, Mama Llama. So we didn't answer your question directly, but I mean,
nobody can answer that. We don't know how much it's going to go up day to day or month to month. We don't know.
And there are also going to be people out there,
or if it's going to go up at all. We don't know.
And there will be people who are looking for reasons not to come, and that could be
it. Will.
That could be it as well. People who are a bit sort of borderline, and they want, if it's in favor, if they're trying to sort of create a balance in favor of not coming, these are the sorts of bits of information that can do that.
And the argument I've heard that makes a ton of sense to me is the people kind of in the middle, the ones where a 5% difference one way or the other could make the difference of being able to afford to be here or not.
That's true.
That situation I understand absolutely.
Those people need to pay
attention. If I'm in a 48% tax bracket, lucky me.
That exactly. You've got enough money to live. $1 million
a year. It's like, okay.
Yes.
I'm at 48%. But for those who are making less, it's considerably less than that. And that's
exactly right. Yeah, for some it's going to be no, I can't do that. For some it's going to cost me some more, but I can still do it. Do I want that lifestyle? Do I want to live in Europe? It's going to depend on a whole lot of different things, but not solely taxes.
Yeah, well done. It's not about money. What are that have nothing to do with money? And
if it's all about money, you're probably not going to be happy anyway. So
exactly.
Lovely bit of straight talking from Viv this morning. Loving that. Guaranteed. What's this? By Andy is saying minimum wage increases soon. The price of everything else will increase. That's a globalized phenomenon there, isn't it?
Yes.
And progressive rates are between 15 and 48, says T-Duck, and you're only taxed on the amount you earn over 75,000, and that's per person, not for a couple. Now, the thing with that, I think a lot of people who are in the business of earning that sort of money probably aren't going to be resorting to personal taxation. They'll have started a company by that point and have found a different way of paying tax. I think that's how it works, is it not? And Joel, the US does have a progressive tax regime. What am I missing?
They do. Yes, I think people don't understand that either. Yeah.
I think some people imagine that Portugal is just like as soon as you go over 75, you're paying 48 on everything you ever earned in your life and all your children as well.
That's because the NHR, you don't have to pay any taxes. I mean, that's the other thing. It's just
that was never true. Yeah.
We work all our lives, earn money, pay tax and national insurance, pay money into company pensions, etc. And then if we're lucky enough to live long enough to claim it, you end up being taxed again. Well, that is life. Can't argue with that, Gary. I mean, we
It's
cannot be
life.
happy about it. We don't have to be happy about it, but I guess we can't really argue with that with the way things are at the moment. We would be living in retirement, but my husband is retired military, so we have free medical and scripts in US or military bases. So that's an interesting benefit.
That's a
You
big
might
perk.
be giving up. Yep, it's a very good
There are
perk.
military bases here too, though.
Okay.
Not in
Thanks.
Portugal, but there are in Spain. So.
Okay, Viv's got a lot of great information and insight this morning. Good morning, Carl, James, Bob, and Viv from Sarah. Good morning to you, Sarah. Great to see you here.
Sarah, good morning.
Tell us in these closing moments. I can't believe it. It's 5 to 10 already, Bob and Viv. What else can you give us with an update from your particular view up there in the north?
Well,
we had a fundraiser yesterday here at our house. Yeah, you want to go ahead? Bob can talk.
It was actually a blast. We did because people know that we inadvertently ended up with a rescue dog, but we've helped with rescues ever since we got here. That's how we got caught in a transfer that ended up with a stay. But in any case, yeah. So that apartment space that we finally got all ready, we had totally filled yesterday with clothing and purses and hats and gloves and shoes, everything you can imagine. And it was a fundraiser for friends of ours.
All donated by wonderful people. We got really great stuff. Yeah. And raised quite a bit of money for this dog rescue that's opening in Comenia, so that they can take care of more dogs and cats.
Friends of ours up there, Charlie and Michelle, have they're now up to 12, and so they've started a nonprofit to give them the ability to keep placing these dogs
and to build kennels. So they have 12 dogs in their house, 12 dogs and 2 cats in the house. So their hearts are in the right places, and they just keep taking dogs. They find them, they rescue them, people bring them to them, and they have to take care of them. So.
Wow. Yeah. And how much did you manage to raise yesterday? Have you done the maths yet? How much did you manage to raise yesterday for this wonderful cause?
We raised about $350.
Euros,
yeah, in just a few hours. So yeah.
Wonderful. So there you go. Way to go, Bob and Viv. And nice, says Mama Llama. Nice to see you here, Mama Llama. Do join us every morning. We're here every weekday morning. We've had 2 rescue pups. They bless our lives. Isn't that a lovely way?
They do. They're wonderful.
Right, folks. I need to ask you to round up, because on a Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, Mrs. M is breathing down my neck, which I quite like, but she needs to get on and do her barefoot broadcast after I finish here with the Good Morning Portugal show. Last words from you, James. I'm going to play a bit of disco music as well this morning, because I know he likes a bit of. Does James? Last mindful migration reflection for the time being, please, James, if you will.
Well, I think because it stuck with me from the beginning is, just slow down, relax, get into the flow of being in life here, or prepare yourself for being in that life and enjoy it. I mean, we only got one life in this body, so may as well enjoy it.
I feel better just for hearing that. Calma, tranquilo were the words I heard when I first got here. So well said, James. Bob and Viv, over to you.
Breathe.
Just breathe. Yeah. Relax. It's all going to be okay. It's really all going to be okay.
Yes, fantastic. Okay, and just to prove it, here's some lovely disco music for us. I think
to feel calm with.
It's nice and easy going. Let's shimmy our way into the day in a lovely week. And Gary says, if you're a resident in Portugal, you should be paying tourist tax when you book accommodation in, say, Lisbon as well. So a nice little contribution there from people who are visiting and appreciating the country. Thank you, James. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Viv. Have a beautiful day.
Thank you,
and see you again soon. Take care and bye for now, folks. And I'll play this again on Friday, because I'm not going to be able to get through it all this morning. But here's some house music for you. Have a great week. Ciao. Bye for now.